The sirens were already fading when I realized I was still breathing. Smoke clawed its way through the night, curling around the orange glow of the jack-o'-lanterns that had survived the fire. Their carved smiles flickered, mocking me. Somewhere behind the trees, someone was shouting my name, but I couldn't answer. My mouth was full of ash and regret. If anyone asks, it started with dinner. It always does in my family. I was late that night. October 31st, the first Halloween since Dad died. Mom said it would be good for us to gather again, to honor tradition, to keep the family together. She sent the invitation by text, like she was inviting me to a PTA meeting, not a resurrection. Come at 7. Dress festive. We'll carve pumpkins after dessert. I should have said no, but guilt is louder than reason. The street was lined with plastic ghosts and flickering cobweb lights. Kids in costumes ran between lawns, their laughter sharp against the damp air. The Mitchell house sat at the end. White siding, 2 carved pumpkins, a porch light that buzzed like it was tired of pretending. Home, or what was left of it. When I stepped out of the car, I could already smell cinnamon and something burning. Mom opened the door before I could knock. "Rebecca, you made it," she said, wrapping me in a hug that felt rehearsed. Her perfume was the same she wore at Dad's funeral. Sweet, choking, artificial hope. Inside, the house looked almost normal. Too normal. Every picture of Dad had been replaced with family portraits that didn't include him. The dining table gleamed with silverware and orange candles. And at the head of the table sat a man I didn't recognize. "Rebecca," Mom said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "This is Frank." He smiled. A politician's smile, confident, shallow. "Nice to finally meet you," I nodded. "You're early," I said. "Dad's chair isn't even cold yet." Mom's eyes tightened, but her voice stayed bright. "Let's not do this tonight, okay? It's a celebration." My brother Nate appeared from the kitchen carrying a tray of roasted chicken. He looked older, heavier. His eyes didn't meet mine. "Hey, Beck," he mumbled. "Hey," I said. "Still pretending everything's fine?" He didn't answer. He just set the tray down and reached for the wine. Dinner began like any other performance. Mom talking too loudly, Frank laughing too easily, Nate glued to his phone. I sat there swirling my wine, counting the seconds until I could leave. Then Mom raised her glass. "To new beginnings," she said. I stared at her hand. No ring, just a faint tan line where Dad's band used to be. I forced a smile. Sure, to new beginnings. But the glass slipped in my hand, a drop of red wine spilling across the white tablecloth. It spread like blood. Everyone froze. "Rebecca, please," Mom whispered. "Don't start." I laughed softly. "Start what? A conversation?" Frank cleared his throat. "Your mother's been through a lot, you know." "So have I said. But I didn't replace my grief with a dinner party. The silence stretched until the candles seemed to hiss. Nate finally spoke. "You don't know everything, Beck." I turned to him. "Then tell me, what don't I know?" He hesitated, eyes darting toward Mom. "Nothing," he said. "Just eat your food." That's when I knew. Whatever killed Dad that night on the bridge wasn't an accident. They were hiding something, and I'd just stepped back into the theater of lies. Mom forced a laugh that cracked halfway through. "Rebecca, let's not ruin the night." She poured more wine into everyone's glasses. The liquid caught the candlelight, deep red like something alive. Frank raised his again, trying to steer the mood. "To family," he said. "To family," Nate echoed, his voice barely audible. I didn't move. The clock on the mantel clicked louder than before. Tick, tick, tick. Every second sounded like the heartbeat of a truth trying to escape. I set my glass down. "Tell me about the bridge." Mom froze. Nate's fork stopped midway to his mouth. Frank's smile vanished. "What bridge?" Mom asked too quickly. "You know which one," I said. "The one Dad drove off." Nate muttered. "It was raining, Beck. It was an accident." "Was it?" I asked, because the police report said his brakes failed. "And Frank," I looked at him, "you work at the garage where those brakes were serviced, don't you?" The silence was a scream without sound. Mom's lips parted, then closed again. Her eyes darted between us like she was choosing who to protect. "Rebecca," she said quietly, "please stop." But I couldn't. I'd waited a year to hear her admit it. "I checked, Mom. Dad brought the car in the day before he died. The receipt was signed by you." Nate pushed back from the table, chair scraping against the wood. "That's enough!" "No," I said. "It's not enough. He trusted you. And you?" I pointed at Frank. "You were already here, weren't you? Waiting for him to be gone." Frank's voice was calm, almost bored. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I do," I said. "You started dating my mother 2 weeks after his funeral." Mom slammed her hand on the table. The candles flickered. "Stop it, Rebecca. You're drunk." "I'm sober," I said softly. Sober enough to see what's in front of me. The room fell quiet except for the rain tapping the windows. Outside, laughter from trick-or-treaters echoed faintly, a cruel reminder that somewhere the night was still innocent. I leaned back in my chair. "You killed him." Mom's shoulders shook. For a second, I thought she might confess. But then she straightened, voice brittle. "Your father was sick. He wanted to die." "That's a lie," I whispered. "He was planning our trip to the coast." Frank stood, collecting plates with forced patience. "I think it's time everyone cooled down." I watched him carry the dishes into the kitchen. The sound of running water followed, sharp and steady. Nate rubbed his face. "Why can't you just let it go, Beck?" "He's gone." "Because I still hear him," I said. "Every night. The sound of the car hitting the water. I dream it." Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Her nails were trembling. "You don't understand what it was like living with him," she whispered. "He wasn't perfect." "Neither are murderers," I said. She gasped. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Frank returned, drying his hands with a towel. "I think you should leave," he said. But I stayed seated, not before dessert. I remember the taste of that pie even now. Pumpkin, cinnamon, a hint of something sour beneath the sweetness. Mom cut it into perfect slices, pretending nothing had happened. Nate poured coffee that none of us drank. While they talked about meaningless things, the neighbor's new fence, the cost of gas, I reached under the table and pressed my phone's record button. If they wouldn't tell me the truth willingly, I'd make them. Mom's voice floated through the small speaker. "I just wanted peace, that's all," Frank said. "You did what you had to do," Nate muttered. "If Rebecca finds out—" "She won't," Mom interrupted. They didn't notice the tiny red light. When I looked up, Mom was watching me again. Her expression softened, tired. "Can we please stop fighting?" she said. I smiled. "Sure, Mom, let's stop." Inside, the decision was already forming. By the time I left that night, the rain had stopped. Frank offered to walk me to my car. I declined. I needed air, space, silence to think. The street was empty except for pumpkins glowing on every porch. One of them had collapsed inward, the candle still flickering inside its ruined grin. I sat in my car, hands on the wheel, listening to the recording. Every word confirmed what I already knew. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went shopping. Candles, bottles. One small vial of liquid I bought from a man who didn't ask questions. He said, "Be careful. It only takes a few drops." "I won't waste any," I replied. That night, I listened to the recording again, over and over, until the words stopped sounding human. A week later, Mom texted, "Let's try again. Family dinner next Friday." She added a heart emoji. I typed back, "Wouldn't miss it." When Friday came, I arrived early. The house smelled of polish and forgiveness. Mom hugged me like the week before hadn't happened. Nate smiled awkwardly. Frank shook my hand, firm and friendly. In the kitchen, I offered to help with the drinks. They let me. People always do when they think you've forgiven them. Wine glasses lined the counter. I poured, measured, stirred. Only one glass stayed untouched by my hand, mine. When I carried the tray out, Mom said, "Look at you being helpful." I smiled. "To family," I said again, raising my glass. They all echoed it, unknowing. For a moment, I almost changed my mind. But then I saw the empty chair at the end of the table, Dad's chair, and the moment passed. The clock struck 8. Outside, a few leftover trick-or-treaters still wandered the street, their laughter distant. Inside, conversation flowed easier than ever. Mom's cheeks were flushed. Frank told a story. Nate laughed too loudly. The candles burned low. When Frank reached for his glass again, his hand trembled. "Are you okay?" Mom asked. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Nate blinked hard. His fork clattered. Mom looked from one to the other, confused. I sat perfectly still. Frank stood, knocking over his chair. "Rebecca," he tried to say, but it came out as a choke. Mom rushed to him. "What's happening?" I whispered. "It's just the truth catching up." Mom's scream cut through the room like the wind outside. Frank's glass shattered on the floor, red streaks blooming across the wood. Nate clutched his chest, eyes wide with something between fear and disbelief. The sound of the clock grew louder again, tick, 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 until it drowned out everything else. "Call 911, Mom shouted. Her voice didn't sound like hers anymore. I just sat there, staring at the candle flame trembling in the draft. For a moment, I saw Dad's face in it, smiling, calm, forgiving. And that was when I knew I'd gone too far. Mom turned to me, shaking. "What did you do?" "I told the truth," I whispered. She tried to grab the phone, but her hands were shaking so badly she dropped it. The room filled with the smell of spilled wine and fear. Frank staggered toward the hallway, his shoulder hitting the cabinet. Nate fell against the table, knocking the candles over. Wax spilled. Flame caught the tablecloth. The fire started small. A soft hiss, a thread of orange crawling over linen. Mom gasped and threw water from a glass, but it only spread the flame. Within seconds, the curtains caught. I stood up, finally moving. "Get out!" I yelled. But no one listened. They were too busy choking on smoke and guilt. I tried to open the door, but the heat pushed back. The air had turned solid, thick with everything we'd never said. The last thing I saw before the room filled with smoke was Dad's old photograph, half hidden behind a vase, curling at the edges from the heat. Sirens in the distance. Flashing red and blue leaking through the window. Voices shouting. I reached for the doorknob, but it burned my hand. Pain jolted me awake in a way nothing else could. I stumbled toward the hallway, coughing, eyes streaming. Then a hand, Mom's, grabbing my arm. "Rebecca," she cried. "Please." Her voice cracked on that single word, and for the first time all night, I heard love in it. Not the easy kind. The desperate kind that arrives too late. I turned toward her. "I'm sorry," I said. "I only wanted the truth." The smoke swallowed her answer. When the firefighters pulled what was left of the house apart, they said it must have started from a candle. An accident, they called it. Just another Halloween tragedy in a quiet suburban street. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine the house still standing, candles burning safely, laughter rising through the walls, my father carving pumpkins in the kitchen. In that world, no one lies. In that world, the truth doesn't kill. But that world only exists when I close my eyes. And when I open them, I'm back in the flashing light, hearing the sirens fade. The pumpkins outside still grin. The wind still moves through the empty yard. And I remember my mother's last word, my name, breaking through the smoke. It was supposed to be justice. It became my confession.